So the next concept. So nowadays, so when it comes to company, when it comes to any companies, so they prefer a developer who can do only one task or who can do different tasks. What's the preference? The companies will prefer a person who can do multiple tasks, like who knows Java, who also knows SQL, who also knows something like React. Yeah, so this will be a multitasking person, a person who can do different tasks. We call it as a full stack developer. Full stack developer, a developer who can do the back end and who can do the front end both together. There is a preference is more. If you're exclusively back end developer only, then we should be so strong that still even this also has a highest importance. But the one who knows only Java, the one who knows only SQL. So there are specific companies only, but not in general. So we are limiting ourselves in terms of opportunities. So it means a person can do multiple things at the same time, a human being. Correct or not? Now you are listening and you may be thinking something else. Correct? And so like that, a person can do multiple tasks at the same time. That activity is called as a multitasking. A person can do multitasking. Like if I keep it more simple, so whenever we are doing playing any game, so you can focus on the game. We can listen to the some songs at the same time, and our mind will think what is the next step and all those things. Right? A person individually can do different things. That's a multitasking. And if I go for another way of it, this is but this is for individuals, each individuals. Yeah. When we take a system, for example, I'm using this laptop, right? So if I'm using this laptop, what my laptop can do at the same time. For example, by using this laptop, I'm taking a class. So background, there is a Zoom meeting is running, correct? And I'm using this PPT for the class. At the same time, background, I'm downloading one audio. Possible? At the same time, I'm playing MP3 player to listen to some songs. I'm listening some songs. Not. Okay. So here, a system can do different tasks at the same time. This is also multitasking only. Yes or no? So this is nothing but it's called as a process-based multitasking. Process-based multitasking. So one clear difference is one question. All these related to the same task, same goal, or each one is different? Each one is different, right? So I'm using PPT. So PPT is used for class. Zoom meeting is running to interact. Then downloading is for my later usage. I'm listening for songs for some entertainment. All these things. These don't have a common goal. It's a process-based multitasking, but it is a individually. This is individual. This is also one multitasking only. But when it comes to Java program, what is our requirement is, for example, if we are having one class with one method having its own task, okay, and there is another class and has another method has a different task. Yeah, these two tasks I want to use in another class called test class. By creating object approach by method calling, we know the process and all. If this test class wants to use m function and f function by creating object approach, do we see the results of this m method? Assume that this will take some 5 hours to execute. This will also take some 5 hours to execute. Let us assume. Then when this test class wants to use both of them, so do we get the both the functions results within 5 hours or within 10 hours? Will it be one after the other or both at the same time? One after the other. For example, if you are creating object for A class, then we can call A class method. Correct or not? So when JVM comes to this line, so this JVM will wait until unless it completes this execution. Then, even though you are creating object for B class and all, to call this B class function by using b.f, so these two will execute at the same time, or it will happen one after the other. One after the other, right? So that is something like in real time scenario, what will happen is I want to execute both of them at the same time. So I don't want to wait for next 5 hours to see the second method result. So anyhow, both will take 5 hours, 5 hours. If I run at the same time, or if it happens at the same time, so within 5 hours only we can see both results, right? So otherwise, first 5 hours, then wait for next 5 hours, so that within after 10 hours we can see the results of both. Or after 5 hours, first one, after 5 more hours, second one. But what if I want them to be executed at the same time in that scenario? So that is where a programming based multitasking is required. Correct or not? One after the other, anyhow, normally we note. But if both things to happen, or if there is one more function called F3, yeah, so then that all should run at the same time. Multiple things should run at the same time. Then that is where it is nothing but multitasking at a program level, but for the common goal, for common purpose, then that's where we use a concept called as multi-threading. Multi-threading concept. So this is where when something is already running, then we have to do the next task also. It is something like, can we use 5 apps at the same time? 4 apps, 5 apps, all apps can we use at the same time? Yes, sir. No. Yes, we can use. So it means how we are able to access all the apps at the same time. So it is because of the multi-threading. So each thread is executing one different application on our mobiles. Okay. So that is a reason behind it. That's the possibility. So each thread is executing one application. You can see now here I'm using my WhatsApp, I'm using some wait news application, both at the same time, when I can fix some more also in the same screen. Yeah. And also whenever you are playing any games like PUBG, for example, PUBG, so the game will go on, the person will keep on running, and at the same time will get some powers. We have to pick those powers and we have to do the running all those same times, right? Especially in gaming industry, where the normal game will happen and extra powers, extra weapons, we have to collect it at the same time. Then we have to move forward in the game. That is one more application of multi-threading where it is happening. Then, for example, if you take any shopping cart applications, a Flipkart, we all want to shop at the same time. Is it allowed or not allowed? Allowed. Anybody can access the website at the same time. It means each person accessing that Flipkart application is nothing but one thread. So that is how multiple threads or multiple accessing is happening at the same time. So for all such type of support, we the concept which is behind that is multi-threading. Yeah. So what is a thread? Thread. Thread is an independent task. Thread is an independent task. In a simplest way, opening one application is one task. Opening second application is one more separate task. Like opening one tab is one task in Google Chrome. Opening one more tab is a second one more task. Yeah. So that each individual task is nothing but one thread. Yeah. So threads are used to perform multitasking. To perform multitasking in Java program or in Java application. So if at all you want to perform the multiple tasks at the same time, so then we'll go for a threads concept. Especially in gaming industry, threads is a must and should. Yeah. This is what thread. Then here, when it comes to defining a thread, there are two different approaches to define a thread. So how can we do that? Multiple tasking. So for that, we have to define a thread. So one thread will do one task, another thread will do the another task. So for that, so defining of a thread, defining a thread. So there are two different approaches in Java. The first approach is by extending thread class. Then second approach is by implementing a runnable interface. These are the two different approaches a programmer can define a thread. So before we go for that, what is thread? So here thread, this thread is a predefined class. Thread is a predefined class present in java.lang package, which is by default available for every class or every Java file. Yeah, it's a predefined class. So now we will see how do you define a thread and how the multiple tasks will happen at the same time. So for that, let me go for the first approach, that is by extending thread class approach. By extending thread class. So for this, for defining a thread, first to extend a class, we should have a class again, correct or not? Or can we use interface also? Can interface extend a class? No, class can implement interface, but interface can't extend a class. So for that, first a programmer defined class called public class. I'm taking it as my thread. This is the programmer defined class name. Then what's the approach? Extends thread. So the approach is nothing but by extending a thread class, extending is possible with a extends keyword. Then the class name, predefined class name called thread class. Then my thread class body. So inside this my thread class, we have to use a method public void run is a method, no arguments, then the run method body. So this part, by extending thread class and with the help of this run method, this entire syntax is nothing but we call it as defining a thread. This is nothing but defining a thread. This will become one thread. How it will become? Once we execute, we'll understand. Yeah. But what this thread has to do? This thread has to do some task, right? Something. So whatever you want to the thread to do, the same thing, you write the task. The code which will write inside this run method is nothing but that individual thread task. Just for our understanding, to see the difference in the output, I am taking a for loop which I use for running 100 times. I have a reason for this. I should be less than or equals to 100, then I plus plus, so that we can see both the threads are running at the same time or not. That's what the purpose of threads, right? Otherwise, normally we can run one after the other. But if both are running at the same time or not, for noticing that, I'm using this for loop for 100 times. Just a sample dummy print statement, system.out.println. So print, what will print? Kalki will print. Let's talk of the term. Some message. So this is what I'm printing here. Yeah. So then followed by what this for loop, whatever we are writing inside this method body, it is called as a threaded task or a job of thread. This part is nothing but the job of a thread. What the thread has to do. That's it. So do we have any main method here? Can we execute this? We don't get any output. We can execute, but because of no main method, so there is no output for this one. Then the next part, I'm using another class of programmer choice, public class, some test class. Inside this, for execution, public static void main method, and here the string array args, then the main method body, end of the class. Inside this class, to access this or to execute this run method, what we have to do? Create the object. So the class name my thread, then I am using empty equals new my thread, same class name, and a default constructor. That's it. Then which method we have to call for this run method to execute? By using this object reference called empty, which method you have to call? Come on. Empty dot run method, you have to call a start method, not run method. Why? We'll discuss all those things, cross questioning and all. But as of now, we should not call run method, or we can call run method, but multi-threading will not happen. Okay. So we have to call start method. So once we call this start method, then after that, I'm writing one more for loop int I equals to 1 because it's a different body. So we can use the same variable. I should be less than or equals to 100, then I plus plus. This for loop, I'm using another sample print statement to print, say, Bahubali. Yeah. So here, this program is a multi-threading program. Two tasks will happen at the same time. What is that? This for loop and this for loop will work or will run at the same time. Then what's the output? Is it one after the other? All 100 Bahubalis then followed by 100 Kalki? Or all 100 Kalki followed by 100 times Bahubali? Yeah, it is a combination of both. It is a combination mixture of both. We so in this scenario, we can't predict the order of output. Maybe first one thread will get the chance, then Bahubali may print 10 times. Then the chance may go to another thread, then Kalki may print 10 more times. Then again chance may comes to Bahubali and all. That is internally JVM will take care. But it is not one after the other. It is a parallel process. Both will run at the same time. Understood? Yeah. Yeah. So you can write later. So far it is fine, but now you listen. Java program execution starts from open floor brackets of the main method. Correct? In exceptions concept, if you just remember, exception from thread main is one message in the console. Did you remember? When we run a program and we got the arithmetic exception is the output, then did you remember that exception from thread main? Yeah. Yeah. If you are getting any exception, the first line of code is exception from thread main. Correct? So here is the point. When JVM starts execution, by default, every Java program execution will start from first line and it is done by one thread called as main thread. Main thread is the thread name itself is main. Is it because of main method? No. Just accidentally the name is given as main thread. That's all. Okay. By default, every Java program execution will start from open floor brackets of this main method, and the thread which will execute that code is called as a main thread. Yeah. Who will start this main thread? JVM will start this main thread. Okay. So JVM will start this main thread, then main thread will do its job. What is the job of main thread? Execute the entire code in sequence of in which programmer writes the code. Yeah. So therefore, first line execution done by main thread. So after this, the object creation, everything will happen. Then JVM comes to second line. So who will execute this? Main thread only. So till here, any other thread related code is there? No. This line of code also executed by main thread only. And once the execution of this line is done, then from here, which method we are calling? Start method. Start method has the capacity to execute a run method. Why and all, you can leave it to me, later we'll discuss. Start method has the capacity to execute this run method. It means start method will create one thread, one more thread, and that will start execution from this run method onwards. Whatever the code that we write inside this run method will be executed by a different thread. Okay. So now from here, who will execute this? Main thread. From here, main thread will continue execution of this for loop. And if you write some other lines of code also, this main thread will do its job. And from this point, after the execution of the start method, there is a one more thread is there in our program. What this will do? This thread will execute this job of the under thread. So this is where multitasking is happening parallelly. One thread is doing the execution of this part or this for loop. One more thread is doing the job of executing another part at the same time. That's what it is, a multi-threading. So individually, if it takes some 100 minutes and the 100 minutes, then with this approach, together within 100 minutes only, we'll get the output of both for loops. That's what the multi-threading concept. And if we write this syntax and this run method with the same syntax and this start method, only it will happen. Otherwise, it will not happen. Yeah. So this is about multi-threading concept. So main thread is doing its job and a new thread is created because of the start method, and it will continue the execution of the under thread job. So what is the output? We can't predict. We can't predict the exact order, but it's a mixture of Bahubali and Kalki, because one for loop and under for loop both are running at the same time. Clear? Execution is clear. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah. If you write one more for loop, say for example here, then who will execute this? Main thread only. So main thread can do two jobs at the same time? No. So therefore, first for loop, complete execution for 100 times, then only main thread will execute the next for loop or next lines of code, whatever it is there. But this is not depends on main thread. That will be done by a child thread. It's called as child thread. So where I'll call as thread 0 also. More clearly means thread 0. I'll show you that later. This is nothing but a child thread. Child thread, which is happening from here, will do the job of this run method. That's how multi-threading will happen. I mean, multitasking will happen at the same time. If you have this class can have some other methods also, but this start has a capacity to execute only run method. This class can have some other methods also. Some other methods also will be. Yeah, yeah. I'll discuss all those points. Yeah, yeah. I do understand why we should call this start method and from where this run method is. Okay, those questions are there. I'll cover all those things, but let me keep it simple of how multi-threading will happen. Then we'll go for can we change the syntax of run method? Can we overload it? Can we override it? Can we change the access modifier? Can we change the return type? Can we call only run method from main method? Yeah. So can we call start method twice? Can we call run method twice, 2 times? Can we call start method 2 times? What will happen? All those things we'll discuss. Okay. So first, let me go for the execution of the same thing. So meanwhile, let Eclipse open. So here I'll put a question. The question is already I asked just now. Can we call this start one more time? Yeah. So for example, empty dot start. I'm writing once again. Yeah. Syntactically, they'll be right. Syntactically, it will be right. Then what is the execution flow? Main thread will execute the first line. Main thread will execute the second line. So from here onwards, how many threads are there in our program? One thread and a second thread, which is executing this run method. Correct? Now main thread will comes to the next line. Correct? Then what this start method will do? This start method has to execute which method? Run method again. But is it already running or not? It's already running. Then what's the purpose of running it once again? That's why this line of code will give a exception called as illegal thread exception. Illegal thread state. Some exception will be there. So because it is already the same thread is running, why you're starting it once again? That is the reason behind why this exception comes. Same thread we are running. If it is a different thread, then it will start. But if it is already running, then why to run once again? That's why it is a illegal thread state exception. So that is one more point. We can't call start method more than once. That's the conclusion. Why? That will become illegal if we call it multiple times. Where inside for loop. Hmm. Yeah. So run method syntax we can change. We can change. And start method syntax we cannot change. That will become not multi-threading. That will not be a multi-threading. Okay. Yeah, I do understand your questions. Even though you ask or not, I'll cover all those things. But I'm going in a flow. Yeah, I'll answer all this. Next. Yeah, so let me create in our OOPS project. I'll create a new package called com.visiblecampus.thread is a predefined keyword. So then it's not a predefined keyword, it's a class. Then I'm using a class. Inside this, I'll take one class called test class for execution. Finish. And inside this same package, I'll take one more new class called myThread. No method. We will write the code. So first, always independent body. So inside this myThread class, what's the method we have to take? Sorry, run method. Before that, extends. Extends which class? Thread class, which is available by default because it's present in lang package. Then followed by what's the method? Public void run. This is the syntax of the method. So then inside this, whatever the task you want to perform, you can perform. Okay. So for our understanding or to convey you the proper meaning of this, I'm using a for loop which runs for 100 times. I should be less than or equals to 100. Why 100 can't we go for 10 times? We can go for 10 times, but it looks like one is running one after the other. Okay, if it's some more number of times only, mixture of output we can see. Even in this also, sometimes we don't see. It depends on your CPU. Okay. Some CPUs will support multi-threading and some will not support at all. Okay. So for that, don't say that multi-threading is not happening. It is the capacity of the CPU. So I use the print statement of, so one is say some name. This is the first independent cloud. Then from main method, please tell me what is supposed to do? Create the object. So for my thread control space empty object reference equals new control space of my thread. Then followed by empty dot which method? Start method. Then followed by one for loop int I equals 1. Then I should be less than or equals 100. Then I plus plus. And inside this, I am printing some sample print statement. Yeah, let me save and let us run the code. So how the output looks like? But you see here, after this, we are getting again this. Yeah, so this is one. So if I execute next time, do we get the same output? No, it depends on which thread gets the priority and all those things. You can see some different number of times. You can execute multiple times. Each time you see a different. I execute once again. So you can see. So sometimes we are seeing the other output, and some other times we are seeing a different output. Sometimes it will happen one after the other also. Yeah. So this is the proof of both for loops are running at the same time. So multi-threading is happening. Then you ask some questions, out of which I'll take the question of, can we call start method twice? Syntactically, any problem? It's accepted. I'll execute this code. So here you can see, what's that? Exception in thread main. What is thread main? It is a default, the thread which will start by default by JVM, and the name is main thread. It's not because of main method. Okay. So then what's the exception name? Illegal thread state exception. Yeah. So same thread is already running here. Then we are running the same thread once again. So that is why it is called as a illegal thread state exception. Once that got a chance, before that only this unthread got opportunity. So this got some opportunity, then it is executed for some times. Then once this start method got executed one more time, so by this time we got some output already. That's what we can see. Always exception will be on top. Always exception will be on top only. Yeah, even it looks like first second line will be executed, like line number 10, then line number 9 is executed. The output will give such kind of impression, but no. Always exception will come on top. Okay. So this is the proof. So the first answer is we can't call start method twice. Then before that, we have one question that can we call run method? Yeah. So I am using empty dot. Of course, when we create the object, why it's not possible to call the method? Run method also possible. But what the difference is, now we observe. Okay, so before I show output, what is the order of execution? Empty dot run method, which will call, which thread will execute this entire program? One threads or two thread? Only one thread. So main thread only is doing the job. Then it will be doing one after the other, or it will do both the jobs at the same time. One after the other. So which one is first out of that? Run. So run method is as a print statement called call 100 times. So now you see I already executed. So if we execute 1000 times also, first run method output, then only the next part of main method output will get. If you execute any number of times, it is one after the other, not multi-threading. Always you will get the same output only. So it means we can call run method, but multi-threading is bypassed. It will not happen. Yeah. Are you getting me? Next, can we call this run method once again? Yes or no? It is like calling same method two times. Anytime we can call control F11. So in this first calki 200 times, because first run 100 times, one more run 100 times, then followed by next part of Bahubali. That's output. So like this, we can call run method, but thread bypassing will happen. Thread creation will not happen. That's the conclusion. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Now you can ask any questions. I'll answer all those. Then I'll go for next. Tell me. Can we take some more methods in this my thread class? Let us see. We'll take that analysis also because you got a question. So in this my thread class, after this run method, we can't write inside that. I'm taking one more method, say public void some m method, and inside this m method, so let me take the same thing, control C, then followed by, I'll paste it, but just to observe the difference, I'll go for triple R. Yeah. Then how to execute this m method? We have the object already, correct? So this run method story I'm taking out. Then I'll enable only one start method because we can't call twice. Next, where you want me to call that m method? Is it before start or after start? Okay, we'll take both scenarios. So empty is the object. dot which method? M method. Correct? Yeah. Tell me, what is the order of output now? Multi-threading will happen or will not happen? In this code, if you execute, multi-threading will happen or not? Will happen. So here, if you are using mt.m, so who will execute this method m? Main thread only. So therefore, that is the first output. Then mt.start will be executed by which thread? mt.start line of code will be executed by which thread? Main thread only. After the execution of that line number 11, how many threads will be there in the program? Two threads. So start method created thread will execute which method? Run method. Yeah. And the main thread will continue the next part, that is for loop. So first order will get 100 times triple R. Yeah. So then followed by mixed output of the Kalki and Bahubali also. Right. That's order. This will never. Kalki and Bahubali may be mixed, but triple R will never mix with because order of the calling. So now we can see triple R, then some Bahubali, some Kalki, some Bahubali, some Kalki, some Bahubali, some Kalki. Yeah, this is one thing. Now what if we change the order? I'll take that and I'll keep it before for loop, but after start method. Now which thread will execute M method? Which thread will execute M method? Main thread only will execute. What's the flow? Just a second. Now the flow will be first the execution will be starts from here or from here. Then this is the first line. Who will execute this line? Main thread will execute this line. Correct or not? Then comes to next line. Who will execute this line? Main thread only. And what the start method will do? Start method has a capacity to execute run method with separate thread. So multi-threading will happen here. So main thread will do its job, and child thread will do the. So this child thread will execute run method, and main thread will continue its job. And who is executing this? Main thread only. Correct or not? Yeah. So it means what's output? So here, this run child thread is executing the run method, and then main thread is executing the em method. And once this is running, parallelly, this also will run. Then parallelly, this also will run. Now we can see this run method output and this em method output parallelly. And if this is faster or if this done faster, then we may see this run method output and this for loop output also may be mixed. Okay, that is the order of this execution. It is not happening all three at the same time. Any two are happening at the same time. Yeah, we can see here. First, what is that? Which method? Triple R. It looks like that. Then run method, then followed by run and this. Now if I execute, we may get a different order. We may get a different order. You can see. First, what is that? Triple R, main method, then Kalki, child thread, then next main thread, child thread, main thread, child thread, main thread, main thread. That's the flow. Yeah. Next. Any other questions? There also you can create one more thread if required. If by run method extend thread class and all. If not, if it is a normal code without any threading and all, the order in which you call will happen, the execution. Yeah, for one class, for one thread creation, one start method. For another thread creation, one more start method also. For example, if we take, I'll take out this em method, and in the same package, let us go for one more class quickly. So one more new class. I'll take this class as some example is a class, and inside this example class also I write extends thread, and inside this also let's go for one same method called run, public void run. It has to be run method only, so that multi-threading will happen, otherwise it will not happen. So in this inside this run method, what I'll do, from this for loop I'll keep it there. Yeah, and here it is a, I'll keep this empty, or I'll remove this one. So there is no yum, and here there is a one more run method. Now comes to test class. Once we create the object, yum method is not there. What is supposed to do? First, my thread class, one class is there, and for its multi-threading, we have used the start method. Next, what? Create the object for another class also. What is the class? Example. Some e equals new example, and then followed by which method we have to call by using e for multi-threading? E dot start method we have to call. Now, how many threads will run? 3 threads will run. So first, here main thread, and here also main thread only. I'm writing m for main, m for main. Then from here, how many threads will run? Main thread and also child thread 1. And then child thread will do its job of executing this run method which is present in the my thread class. Then main thread will execute this. Main thread also will execute this one. Then from here, main thread and one more child thread. Yeah. At this point of time, 3 threads are running in our program. 3 threads are running. So main thread will do this job, and this start method thread, the child thread will do triple R job, and this thread will do Kalki job. Understood? So we'll see. We can see the mixture of all 3 outputs because 3 are running at the same time. Control yes, execute. So it is first one, second one, first one, second one. Somewhere you can see all 3 are running at the same time. Yeah. So that is where. So this is how the real-time projects will be. If it is Flipkart, some, of course, because of technology management or technology part and some servlets and Hibernate things will be there. So because of that, each request will become one thread. A customer one is requesting Flipkart, one thread will be generated, and my task is over, thread will die. If one more person is accessing the same thing, one more thread will create. So both the jobs will happen at the same time parallel. When our job is done, thread will die. So like that, multiple threads will be created when it comes to the depends of types of applications. When it comes to banking, bank account, can 2 threads should allow to access one bank account at the same time? Should we allow multiple threads to access one bank account at the same time? No. So that is where threads are not synchronized for multiple threads. That's the required situation. When it comes to Flipkart, that object should be synchronized for multiple threads. Then there is a difference. So depends on application type, should we use multi-threading or not? It's that's difference. Yeah. So they'll generate only 100 threads. See here also we can prioritize. See now 3 threads are there. 3 threads are running at the same time. So my situation is I want to complete first thread first. Then only second and third should run parallelly, not 3 parallelly. Then we can prioritize. I'll show you. We can prioritize. As a programmer, we can prioritize. Okay, even though multi-threading is happening in the program currently, run first thread first, then second thread second, third thread later, third time. Or run first one, then run 2 and 3 parallelly. Like that, or run second one, then run 1 and 3 parallelly. So that we can prioritize. There is the thread priority one concept is there. So if you set some number, thread priority 1 to 10, it will be there. Okay. So depends on how you give. The preference will be given by JVM. We don't bother about it. We have to set the priority, that's all. Yeah. It is something like, before we enter password, is it as will it be allowed to transfer the money? No. Therefore, there should be order. There should be order to be followed. So first you what say credentials. You have to give your credentials correct. Then only you will be able to perform the tasks. First only if you are able to perform the task, then what's the purpose of credentials and security and all? Correct or not? First validate, then perform. So that's order. So in that way, we have to prioritize the things. Of course, this is just conceptually. So we will be using this concept in a technology part. So there we will do all those things and all. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions from here? Can we overload this run method? Of course, overloading is possible. Can we override this run method? Yes, you can create one more child class for this mythread class and you can override. Possible. Can we change the syntax of this run method? We can change, multi-threading will not happen. For example, if I am using some index, then here can we call some start method with the integer parameter called 10? This is error. This is error. We cannot call like this. Multi-threading will not happen. Then how do you execute this run method body? Call run method only with integer parameter type. It's like your yum method, normal methods. Multi-threading will not happen. Okay. That is a different case study. Each thing is one case study. Can we call start method twice? The answer is no. It will become illegal thread state exception. Can we call only run method? Yes, we can call. Multi-threading will not happen. Can we overload run method? Yes, but that overloaded method will not become a multi-thread. That will not be executed by child thread. Only run method of no arguments will be executed by child thread. Can we change the syntax of run method? No, that will become a normal method. It is not a multi-threading. It will not happen with multi-threading. Yeah, each question is one case study. You have to use that accordingly. Clear? This is the first approach. Shall I go for second approach? Yeah. The second approach to define a thread is, did you remember? By implementing a runnable interface. So in the information itself, it is there. Runnable is one interface. So for defining the thread by using a second approach, first again a programmer defined class called public class mythread. I'm trying to take the same so that we understand the difference. So public class mythread. So this time, how do we implement one interface into a class? Implements is a keyword. Implements. Then interface name runnable. Then the mythread class body. Inside this mythread class, which method we have to take? Public void run method only. Here also same run method with no arguments. Now this entire code is nothing but defining a thread. This is again defining a thread. Then how do we assign the task? So you write some code here. So again, I'm writing the same for loop int I equals to 1, then I should be less than equals to 100 times so that we can see the difference. Then I plus plus. Then here I write system.out.println child thread. So this is the job of thread. What second thread has to do? Execute this for loop. That's the job of the thread. Till here any change? No change. Only thing is there extends thread and here implements runnable. But when it comes to this calling, here is a difference. Again, I'll take one test class with main method. And inside this main method, yeah, now you have to tell me. How do you call this run method? Create the object. Which class? My thread. My thread. Then same empty equals new my thread. Then which thread we have to call? empty dot, which method we have to call? Start method. Correct or not? Yes or no? If we call run method, threading will happen? No, multi-threading will not happen. Then which method we have to call? Start method. This is error. We can't call start method on my thread object. We can't call. This is not correct syntactically. Yeah. Exception I'll write right side, and syntax errors I write left side. Did you notice right from day one I'm following this for better understanding? So this is nothing but a syntax error. Why? Without I answering, you have to understand something and answer. Why we are getting error? Why we'll get error? We are using a okay. So did we define in previous scenario? Did we define start method? Did we define as a programmer in our programmer code? Anywhere start method is there? No. Then can you guess it is coming from which class? This start method is present in which class? Guess it. Or understand the code, you'll get the answer also. No need of guessing. Understand the code. My thread is a child class of thread. So thread is a parent, right? So when something is used on child class object and it is not defined in child class, then where it is defined? It's defined in thread class. Start method is present in thread class. So being a child, by creating child object, we can call both child methods and also parent methods. So that is start method is present in a thread class. Now, here is there in thread class? That's why we can't use start method. Because start method is present in thread class. Now in this runnable interface or my thread, in both of them, thread start method is not there. So since that, because of that, it's not possible to access. Yeah. Then start method is present in thread class. In our code, thread class is not there. So therefore, we have to go for thread class object. Otherwise, start method will not work. When start method is not working, multi-threading will not happen. Yeah, that's why create the object for thread class. Thread some t equals new thread. Now can we call start method in our program? Now thread class is there. Then can we call start method? How to call? Yeah, correct. My question is, can we call start method now? T dot start, correct or not? Yes or no? No. Yeah. We can do that. T dot start, syntactically correct or not? Correct. Syntactically correct. Then after that, okay, let me write the next part of this code first. Int I equals to 1, then I should be running 100 times, then I plus plus, then here also I'll print system.out.println main thread is the message. Yeah. Now T dot start will execute this run method or not? So first of all, before that, multi-threading will happen or not? Start method will run something and main thread will run the next for loop. Correct? Multi-threading will happen, but that thread will run or will execute this run method. T dot start method will create a new thread. That thread will run this run method or not? Is my question. No, it will not. Multi-threading will happen, but this run method code will not be executed. Why? Because the thread class has any reference of my thread class? No. That's one more case study. By just creating thread class object, if we call start method, then multi-threading will happen or not? Yes, it will happen. But that second thread will execute run method of my thread class or not? No, is the answer. Okay, syntactically correct. Yeah, multi-threading will happen, but we don't get the run method execution will happen. Then what we supposed to do? Establish a relation between my thread class and thread class. How to do that? In thread class, there is a constructor which takes the another class object also. That's why use empty here. So that now there is a relation from my thread class to thread class. So now by using this object, which method we can call? T dot start. Then which run method will be executed? Child class run method or parent class run method? Always the priority goes to child only. Yeah. So that's why this run method will be executed now with this syntax of this line. Understood? Understood? Clear now? That's it. So this is the second approach. This is T dot start method. So now the execution flow, main thread, next line also main thread only. Then followed by, this is not there. This line also by main thread only. And from here, multi-threading will happen. And this thread will run the run method. And this main thread will continue the next for loop. That's the second approach. And these are the different case studies. Understood? Yeah. So when, okay, we will execute. And then when two approaches are there, which is recommended? First one or second one? Okay, no, that's not the answer. First approach or second approach? Then how long a thread will remain? What's the priority? I'm saying main thread and I'm saying thread 0 or child thread. Thread 0 is a more correct name. So then do we get those names? Can we see the names? Is it main thread or something else? Or I'm just saying the main thread. So, and how can we give the priority? What's the range of priority? Okay, those things that we'll discuss in our tomorrow's class. But for today, I'll execute the second approach to see the output. That's the last part of it. The cross questioning you may have. So that's why I'm clearly saying we'll discuss those points in our next class. So in this same package, I'll go for different classes so that we can write a separate code. So here example, my thread and test is there. Okay, I'll use this my thread only, and I'll also use this test. Okay, so let me close this example. It's not required. I'll take this my thread class. First, I'll remove this. Let that for loop be, no problem. Correct. Now, once we have a my thread class, it's an independent class. What's the approach we have to follow? Implements runnable is one predefined interface which is present in Lang package. Why we are getting error? Public class my thread implements runnable. Yeah, understood. Anybody? Why we are getting error? Did I write spelling mistakes? No. Any reason? When a class is implementing interface, class can exist by giving the body for the methods of the interface. Otherwise, class has to declare itself as abstract class. See, a class is implementing one interface. Now, what's the responsibility of the class? Class has to implement all abstract methods of the interface. Correct or not? Otherwise, class cannot exist. The other way is, don't give the body, declare yourself as abstract. Discuss concept only. That's the reason we are getting this error. Now, what we have to do? Here is one more clue. Which method we are implementing? Where is it present? Where it is present? Run method is present in? Run method is an abstract method which is present in runnable interface. It is an abstract method which is present in runnable interface. Now the class which is implementing that interface is giving the body. Yeah, so that is where the question comes, which is the recommended approach, first or second, why? Okay, I'll answer that. Yeah, so this code will give a clarity that run method is present in runnable interface. Now this class has to give the body. Understood? Yeah. Next, from some for loop. So here I'll take one for loop. I'll go for some less number of times. This time we'll see. Can we see the impact or not? I equals to 1, then I should be, sorry, small I less or equals some 10 times only, then followed by I plus plus. So if it's 10 times, we don't see the threading is happening or not. We can't get that observation, but still let me try. Otherwise, I'll change the count. So here this is a thread 0 actually. Thread 0. We can see the name also. By default, a first child thread name is thread 0. Second child thread name is thread 1, thread 2, thread 3 like that. If you want, you can name it as Pawan Kalyan also. It is possible. Next, from main method, what are we supposed to do? Create the object. Which class? My thread. My thread empty equals new my thread, then followed by, okay, I'll take the count more because to show you the different case studies, it looks like a threading is happening, or even if it is happening also not happening kind of thing, we'll get it if I take some small count. Okay, I create the object, then which method we have to call? Empty dot start method. Correct or not? Allowed? First scenario, we can't call start method on my thread object now because we are using a runnable approach. That's one error, compile time error. Am I correct? Syntax error, compile time error. Then second, can we call run method? Can we call run method? Multi-threading will happen? No. It is a normal run method execution, then followed by main method, remaining part of execution. Single thread, main thread only will do the both the jobs. We can't get the different mixed outputs. Thread 0, and here I'll take main thread. So we'll get the same order only. Other times if we execute also same times only, same order only we'll get the output. Multi-threading is not happening. Then this is also not creating multi-threading. Then what's next thing? Create the thread class. So thread T capital class name, some object reference, then new thread of constructor with no arguments. That is also there in thread class. Thread class has a constructor with no arguments also. Then now can we use T dot start? Spelling is wrong. Why we can't use? Because start method is present in thread class only. Yeah, multi-threading will happen. Will happen. Then this start method will execute what? Run method. Where that is and all, that's our next story. This will execute a run method, but not a my thread class run method. So multi-threading will happen, but we'll get only one output, main thread. We don't get the thread 0 because run method is not at all running. I mean, my thread class run method is not running. Clear? Then how do we execute my thread class run method? For this thread class, give the connection of my thread here, empty. So once if we give that, so then we can see the multi-threading will happen, and also we can see the mixed output as well. You can see here main thread, thread 0, main thread, thread 0. It is happening now. Yeah. So that is how we can achieve the multi-threading by using a second approach, that is implementing runnable interface approach. Yeah. So this is the first part of the threads, that is in how many ways we define and what are the different scenarios, and in each scenario what about the other things, when we can call start, when we can call same method, threading will happen or not happen, which thread, and all those things that we discussed in this session. And I strongly recommend you to explore about this threads concept, even though we are going to discuss the next part of it, but I recommend you to explore a little bit more about this.